Greetings and welcome, everyone. It's All You Can Geek Gamecast episode 689. I'm one of your hosts, Jim Gast, joined by Mike Sneedy,
What's up?
Corey Feinsod,
Ahoy!
and Tony Korkanakis.
Hello.
Welcome, guys. Welcome, listeners. Welcome, viewers. We're live on Twitch right now, Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. Please join us for the movie cast and the Gamecast. Go check out the movie cast. We kicked it off with the really sad news of Toriyama's passing, Akira Toriyama. The like
Dragon
one of the
Ball
fathers of
creator,
anime.
yeah.
Father of, like, I wouldn't say anime, but again, yeah, I mean, made it mainstream. So
And a pioneer.
it's we
Iconic.
talked about it there,
Absolutely.
huh?
And
Yeah.
a pioneer in gaming. I mean,
Pioneer in gaming too, with
Yeah.
Dragon Quest, and that's why I brought it over to this side. I mean, he's done so much for the gaming side. You know, like you guys, we were talking about over there with like just Dragon Quest and art role playing games. His artwork was in. He did that other thing for Blue Dragon as well, right? Was that what it's called?
Blue Dragon.
Blue Dragon. You know, I mean, his
Xbox thing.
such recognizable artwork. We talked about it on the movie cast as well. Like it's just so like you just know his staple when you see it. Like that's Toriyama. You know it.
One of the stories
So-
I wanted to share on the gaming side of things was the head guy of Dragon Quest, right? Initially during the first one that came out on NES, he was like, "All right, the weakest monster in the series is going to be a slime, right?" He's describing to what a slime thing is because it's D&D style references like that, and he gave him like this crude sketch of just like it just looked like kind of like shit, like little shit, right? Like it was just like a weird
Little poop
squiggly
emoji.
thing, right?
Yeah.
And Akira Toriyama was like, nah, like I'm actually gonna make this iconic, right? And he just drew what everybody knows now as the slime design that is just like instantly recognizable with like the,
You just think about it, you know what it looks like.
almost
Yeah.
like the squishy teardrop with the
Yep.
weird eyes and like the goofy smiling face and stuff like that. And it's just like that's crazy, like to go from like, yeah, I'm gonna do my own thing, right? Like I'm gonna go above and beyond what you want me to, because like yeah, anybody could have just been like, yeah, here's a pile of fucking goose shit. Like nobody cares.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's amazing. So it's sad news. It's amazing what he's done, but it's just such sad news his passing. And you know, like I said, we talked about it over there too. So go check that one out. Let's talk about what we've been up to, guys. Mike, kick us off.
Mine's a little weird this time. My brother came over and we actually played through Sonic Superstars, which is much more doable with 2 players than 4. It's actually a playable game. It's pretty fun. The gimmicks that are introduced in this game they don't really work. Like the emerald powers are too specific, and you have to go to a menu to choose them, and then you do it, which you don't really ever feel like doing while in the flow of the game. But no, it was fun.
Oh, you do it in the
bosses are
level?
harder. Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. I can understand like pre-level, like like hey, choose your loadout.
No, no. No, you have to choose like with the like analog stick which one. And there's a few spaces where they have a thing that shows you some like very specific like instances where you can use them, but and the other thing is most of the other unlocks are all like currency for the battle mode, which is like their online thing, which no one really cares about. So they've sort of dropped the ball there with incentivizing you to like search for all the extra stuff. That said, it was solid. It was fun. Me and my brother played. I reverted back to my younger self, where I'm intentionally an idiot and bother him as he takes things more seriously, which is funny because he'll be like, "Don't panic," and I'm just gonna be like, "I'm panicking." And I just run. It's fun. So it was fun. It's harder than expected, but I heard that criticism. And
Yeah.
it's both good and bad. That it's definitely you think a little bit more with their bosses than in the past, but it's also very restrictive about when you can actually hit enemies. But
Mhm.
it was fun. There's supposed to be a second playthrough to like get the true ending, but we'll see if I want to do that or not. But definitely feel better about the game than I did after the first time when I tried to play it with 4 players, and that just did not work. Just don't ever try to do that with that game. It's stupid. Other than that, in anticipation for the X-Men Renaissance that is coming, even though Insomniac's going to be late to the party, but we got, X-Men 97, then Deadpool and Wolverine this year,
Mhm.
and in a couple years, maybe a Wolverine game. I decided to go, break out my GameCube copy of X2 Wolverine's Revenge and try to play that.
Nice.
And this game I remember as being one of the first games that I liked that reviewed really badly. where I was like, oh, it did not get good reviews. But
Mhm.
playing through it again now, I'm not done with it. It's very hard. I don't know how I beat this. I say as a kid, but I was probably 16. So maybe that explains it. But yeah, it's really hard, and the camera is terrible, and I can see why it got some bad reviews. But I still fun little game to play, and I'm gonna probably power through it before I move on maybe to the good Wolverine game on the 360. But
Hmm.
we'll get through this one. This is the one where Mark Hamill voiced Wolverine, by the way, even though it was a tie into the movie that had nothing to do with the movie.
Hmm.
Weird,
Yep.
weird times, that 2002, 2003 era. But yeah.
Cool.
So that's been it.
All right. Corey?
I've actually not gotten to play too much more, but just Final Fantasy VII, obviously. But I'm still in Chapter 4, which I was where I was before.
Oh man,
Tony,
you
how-
blazed the first week. What happened?
I know. I didn't get to hardly play at all
that
the
sucks.
past week. So
Tony, how are you?
yeah.
How are you doing on that game?
I finished it today, actually.
Oh,
Nice.
nice. Very nice.
I was like, this is one of those things where like, I actually cared to see how the story really unfolded before I get spoiled for it, because like, I don't know. With some games, like I feel like you have like a week, and then people are like, whatever, just gonna start doing fan art and like whatever, and then like I've been avoiding like all the social media platforms as best I can. Like I've had them like limit like, oh, like, you know, this keyword, this keyword, this keyword,
stuff. Yeah,
but still like some things were like slipping through. I was like, oh, like I was gonna blitz it this weekend, so
nice.
I finished it today, and I gotta say it is a remarkable game.
Cool.
Absolutely incredible experience. I mean, this is like, if Final Fantasy is to continue, I really want them to take this and just improve upon it more, right? Like when you have a winning formula now, because like the first one, I liked Remake, but it was definitely constricted by the design choices, right? Where like, hey, first game is just gonna be a Midgar, which is like a small section in the original game.
Yeah.
And you don't really have a lot of wiggle room to explore. There's no outer world or anything. It's just,
very much on rails.
like you're in the city. That's it.
It's almost like a prologue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this, I mean, you have so many beautiful cities. Like it is astonishing to see like fully realized explorable locations. You're like, damn, like this looks good. And this was from a company that said like, 10, 15 years ago, HD towns are hard, right? And you're like, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying, but like, how hard are they, right? And that was one of my biggest disappointments with 16 last year was it's like, oh, it's close. It's like you run through a village, you might be able to go into like one or two buildings, and that's it. But this is just
So story-wise, obviously no spoilers.
Yeah, no.
How different are we looking here? Drastically different, or is it pretty good on the guidelines?
I would say overall it's pretty similar. There are some new parts. There are some parts where I was like, who the fuck is this character? I actually had to like pause and be like, do I remember you? And I had to like,
am I forgetting this?
And I'm like doing this, and it's like, oh, cool, you're from a spin-off game that I didn't play, and it's like, okay, sure, and stuff like that. So I mean, the cuts are deep. So like, I guess if you're like a FF7 super fan and you watch the movies, you read the books, you play the spin-off games, you play the spin-off mobile games, you're probably like grinning from ear to ear. There are a couple times where I'm just like, I don't know who you are. You seem kind of badass, but like, I don't know. It doesn't hit for me, right? And stuff like that. But thankfully, it's not like a prerequisite. It's just kind of like a reference, right? Where you're just like, oh, it's that guy, rather than like, this is a super important character, and you have no idea who the fuck it is. It's like, oh, like, just loses its meaning and stuff like that. But no, aside from that, I was happy with story changes. I'm super excited for the third one now. It's kind of agonizing that we're probably going to have to wait another 4 years of that, which is like crazy to think about. And I even said this when they had that announcement at the original PS4 showcase or something back in like, what, 2014? Probably a decade ago, right? Where they're like, this, and we're like, oh, cool, this is never coming out. It's like a decade later, it's like, it's still just a little bit far away and stuff like that. But I mean, really, I can't gush about the game enough. It's not perfect by any means, but like, it's definitely the best Final Fantasy game I've played since 9. I want to say.
I was going to ask you, like, would you like them to do this to 9?
I mean, sure, absolutely. Like, if that's what they wanted to. But like honestly, here's the thing: like, I'd rather have them do something new.
That's okay. That was my next question. New, or would you like them to do something like 9, or you know what I mean, like that?
Like
9 was the one that came to mind for me because it was the same idea of like the
like
different,
I
same
absolutely
design.
want like a 9 remake, especially because it's not really that. You know, all the PS1 ones are kind of like dicey in terms of like what's available in terms of like remaster
like
and
8,
stuff like that.
8, like 10, all those games. Like, believe it or not, like for me, like 8, like I don't feel like there's enough of a game there at 8. I don't know. It's just me. I know it just angered a lot.
Agree with you.
I know it just angered a lot of people.
No, eight's
Yeah.
my personal step pet or black sheep of the family. And
But
stuff
like
like that.
9 was such a great.
No, absolutely.
Great
And I mean,
game. Yeah.
I think another team is working on 9, but I'm
That would be
just
awesome.
talking about in terms of like, I'm fine with like a 9 like remaster,
Oh,
right?
just
It doesn't
remaster.
need like a whole reimagining, right? Where this is like, the team has proven now that they are quite capable of what they do. Like how I criticized 16, like what I said about that was like, there's no variety in gameplay. In 16, it's like, all you do is fight. You fight and you fight and you fight and you fight. And that's fine, right? I'm in the mood for those types of character action games like Bayonetta, Devil May Cry. I love those games. But they're not 40, 50-hour experiences, right? And they have more weapon variety. Like this is just, you have the sword and you have your different summon powers. Whereas like this has so much, not only like party variety, right? Because they actually did this in the first one, so it's not a spoiler, but like they kind of force party members upon you at certain points. Like they'll take away members, they'll introduce members and be like, you have to work with this now. And you're like, oh fuck, like I don't know how to play this character, and you have to learn, right? But there's so many mini games, and like it's just a lot of them are fun. I'm not gonna say every single one of them. There's 2 that stick out in my mind that were kind of frustrating actually, but I appreciate the fact that like, hey, whatever, this is fun. We think it's fun to play, like the new card game, the new Chocobo Racing game, which is fantastic, by the way.
Cool.
I cannot believe, like, because I love Mario Kart, right? And I've played some of the other like clones of Mario Kart, and they've been, you know, decent to bad, right? Most of them, some of them are really good, but like this one, you're just like, what the fuck? Like this is really legit in terms of like control, like graphics, level design, stuff like that. So. And that's just one part of one mini game, right? There's probably a dozen, I want to say, overall. It's just, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's
like,
awesome.
just,
I gotta try this out this year.
Yeah.
So,
how long did it take you to beat?
I think
how many hours
do
you think you
60-ish, and I did.
That's not
I did
bad at all.
No, it's not bad. I did 100% a couple of the regions. Some of them were really fun to explore. You know, so
yeah, no, I mean, I think that's pretty reasonable. How many chapters is it? Do you know? Is that a spoiler?
No, that's if you don't want to be spoiled, earmuffs, but it's 14.
Ooh.
It's deceptive though, because there's like I remember there was one chapter like that's an hour long, and there's a chapter that's like 5 hours long. So it's like I don't understand how this.
But I think I felt that way even like within the first 4. I was like, wait, how did I get to chapter 4 already?
Yeah, exactly.
But no, that's exciting.
That's what I was gonna say. For me, I've been playing a lot of Infinite Wealth. That's my big week. So I will take back most of the negative things. I will say there's too many mini games. Just too many mini games. Yeah, but I will take back my whole playing it safe. I feel like they've done quite a bit to this game to change it. And I like the addition.
Took you 8 hours to get there?
It took me 20. So I'm in chapter 10 now. Yeah, I'm probably a little under leveled. I'm like level 32. You know, I'm not doing a lot of extra side stuff. I'm 20 hours in. Like I'm 20 hours in. But it clicked for me on chapter 7. That was about when everything changed. And there was a little twist with it. There was more twists later, which I just got done with. There's been enough now in the story where I'm kind of invested in what's happening. Not as strong as the first game, but I'm also not as impacted, Mike, as you. I'm sure. Like we just talked about characters. We just talked about characters that showed up. I'm like, you know, from Final Fantasy. But this game has the same idea. I'm like, I didn't play the Yakuza game, so I don't know who this guy is. I don't know. You know,
there's part of me that wants to like gatekeep the game a little bit, where like, God, you have to play like a lot of others.
I'm enjoying it. Like
a lot of it.
The fact that the character's enjoying them showing up means I'm happy because I'm attached to that character now in this game. So I'm like, okay, it's cool to have. I'm sure they're very impactful, but I'm like, it's not the same as like if you're a fan. But it gives me, but the way they wrote it, it works. Like Tony had said about the Final Fantasy game, where it works because you can just enjoy what you mean. You don't have to know every minute detail about characters to enjoy the game.
Right.
So,
And I didn't
but
remember everything, but I knew
Yeah.
most of those.
no, it's been really good. I do want to do so much on the Kiryu side of things. Like, there's so many things I want to do, and then the Kasuga side, which is my favorite character. He's my character still. I appreciate him, but I don't feel like doing as much for him, like on the side. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's my thing. So, yeah. But anyways, yeah, it's good. I mean, I'll have that finished probably next week, I would assume. So we'll talk about it then more. But
Do you want to know the chapter number for this game?
no, how many?
14 also.
Oh, okay. So on my way. All right. Yeah. So that's it for me. Let's get into some news, guys. Let's go. News. Let's kick it off with the Mario. Mario Day was yesterday. Was the 10th. Obviously, Mario Day.
March 10th.
March 10th.
10.
Yeah, 10. That's the Mario Day. So we talked about the new Super Mario Bros. Movie coming April 3rd, 2026. But there were some great announcements during this presentation for like right away. Dr. Mario, Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, Game Boy Color games coming out today. They're available, and you can play them right now on Switch Online. And they're not part of the expansion pack. Like you can play them right off the bat. Classic. I mean, Dr. Mario. Whew, classic. Even the Mario Tennis game on the Game Boy Color. I remember that was a
Those are revered in the community because the single player game is an RPG mode where it's like you are a golfer and you get stats and like you can improve like different areas of your golf. Like it's revered. Like it's crazy. Like people are like, go back to this formula.
Like, I didn't play golf. I played tennis though. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome to hear. Like I'm gonna play the golf one then. That's it. So cool. I'm obviously a big Dr. Mario fan as well. So I used to play that like crazy and piss off my siblings by dropping a lot of virus drops on them. So, but I used to love to play that. Let's see. We also got Luigi's Mansion 2 HD coming June 27th announcement. And Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door coming out May 23rd.
Yes.
So we've heard the game is in production. We actually have some release dates now. We've seen the game obviously, but excited to get a little bit of slate of release of games here. Post, I guess what the next one's Peach, right? The next game's Peach, right?
Peach next week, yes.
Yeah, next week. Yeah, I think.
April has nothing.
Yeah.
And then
so that'll be May 23rd is your Paper Mario game, then Luigi's Mansion for the summer. So nice little bit of news from Nintendo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 1,000 Year Door is one of the greatest RPGs. So like, I'm super happy because unfortunately, it was like one of those titles I sold for some reason back in the day. Like usually I don't really like the Nintendo stuff because like I know that usually just goes up in time, in value over time. Like I just got rid of it for some reason or lost, I forget. But it'd be good to play. And apparently there's gonna be new editions, so I'm sure we'll see more about that. But having Super Mario RPG remake and 1,000 Year Door remaster within like 6 months, that's eating good. That's eating good.
A lot of RPGs this year.
I know, like, and that's the other thing too is like I have one of my other most anticipated games, which is Unicorn Overload by the Vanillaware team. I have it, and I'm just like, why did you have to come out so close to Final Fantasy VII? Because I don't want to jump from one RPG to another. I hate doing that.
Tough. It's getting really good reviews.
It is.
Too.
It's like just under 90, I think. They had to apologize because Japan it's sold out already and stuff like that, and they're like, please buy it digitally or just be patient while we print more cartridges and stuff like that. And apparently the company, a bad sign, actually ran out of money during the development of this game. That the owner and CEO of the company actually had to dip into his personal money bank to fund the remaining parts of the development. I'm like, oh god, please, like. It just sucks because, like, I mean, 13 Sentinels was the last game they did, and I love that game. And it's just like...
I played that one late. I'm going to try to get this one played as well.
Yeah, it's just like,
that game is so good.
And, what's his name? Yoko Taro of Nier, he loved 13 Sentinels. He's like, please buy these games, people. Like, I don't care if Atlas goes under, but Vanillaware needs to stay in business. I was like, Jesus Christ. Yoko Taro just saying things that are on people's minds, I guess. I don't know, man.
Yeah. All right. That's your Mario Day event. We've got Capcom last week announced a good announcement, increasing its starting salary in Japan by more than 25%. Existing employees will also get a one-time special payment, and an average salary increase of more than 5%. Good increases rather than cuts, as we've been talking about the last few weeks.
This is one of the rare occurrences of good news, right? Rather than bad
Yeah,
news.
yeah.
I mean, a company rewarding success
Well,
to
they've
the
had
people
some
that
good-
helped them bring them success. It's like-
Capcom's has had some pretty good last 2 years, 3 years where they've been on a roll.
I'd say
and-
5 years since already 2
Oh, it could be 5.
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's rare you hear about these across the board pay increases, and a lot of that has to do with external factors, right? So like in Japan, the value of the yen is really weak right now. It's the lowest it's been in decades, I think. So their pay proportionally is like not great for the amount of work they do, right? So seeing a pay increase is to help offset that, right, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
It's also reassuring that like Capcom is doing that, right? Because I think Bandai Namco did it last we heard, and maybe even Square Enix and Nintendo definitely did. I remember that.
Oh. I would say it's not one of the American companies. None of the North American companies.
No, absolutely
but
not.
yeah.
So that's great to hear. And I mean, just today actually they announced. So that was last week, but then today they announced that Monster Hunter World has sold 25 million copies worldwide, which is a record for the franchise, and that's a huge number. That's huge. I mean, that's great. And just again to think about like a decade ago, like Monster Hunter is this niche franchise, and like Nintendo was doing its best, like Monster Hunter on 3DS, guys. Like, come on, you love it, right? And it's like, sure, man, sure. It is like, but they just kept releasing them, and now fucking 25 million units sold. That's whack.
Impressive. So
go Capcom. No longer
go Capcom. Let's go Warner Brothers next. Warner Brothers. Yeah. They made the Gamecast, folks, and not in a good way. So Warner Brothers is notorious now for just canceling movies and deleting them from existence, as we talked about in the movie cast.
Or delaying them a year.
Yeah, erasing them from existence is the worst thing to ever happen. But and now it looks like they're retiring all Adult Swim games. Now these weren't like blockbuster games, don't get me wrong. But a developer who owns the rights to one of these games asked Warner Brothers to transfer ownership to him, and they rejected his request. And he's like, I don't know if they're delisting them or deleting them, but given that there's Warner Brothers, probably deleting. Going back to digital, right, guys?
Yeah, I mean, what can you say?
It's actually pulling it away from you,
Warner
people.
Brothers,
Like, if you have it on your system, they're removing it. That's what I got from it. So, I don't know.
Nobody should be surprised at what this company does anymore. And honestly, it's one of those things where like you have become like more evil than EA has at this point, right? Because like I can't see a reason why you would do that other than just like, like you're not getting tax write-offs for this, right? Like,
no, this would not be tax write-off. No, you're just being an ass. You're being an ass.
Is it licensing that they're like worried about?
It's probably licensing at this point, though. It probably is. Looking back, I don't even know what those games involve.
It's cheap. They don't want to pay
like,
for it to keep
how much can
going.
these fucking like indie ass, random ass games cost them, right? Like, just publicity alone. This is such negative news, especially because people are so unhappy with them, right? Right off
already,
through various ways. Either the fucking company with the Looney Tunes.
The last thing they deleted.
The movie, or Suicide Squad, which is fucking nothing.
Both sides. Failure on both sides.
Yeah.
Not firing well.
And Mortal Kombat 1, people, Mike, you mentioned how unhappy you were with that, that game, and how monetized that game was. Fucking $20 fatalities and shit. It's like, what are you talking about?
They're looking for that service game so badly. All right. Good news. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut coming to PC on May 16th.
Nice.
Quite impressive.
It's gonna sell a lot.
This points back. We mentioned last week, I think there was a leak about the Tsushima. This was talked about by that same person. So this gives
credits to
this gives credit to what's happening for Ghost of Tsushima 2. That's going to be announced then later on this year. So look for that, guys.
See that happening.
Yeah, that's awesome news.
It'll probably be announced, but probably not for release for next year, because Sony's already admitted, like, hey, we got nothing this year.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
don't expect shit for your PS5 from us. Fucking
I would see this
third parties.
I think the leak was talking about an August announcement for this, I believe. So maybe September. Yeah, something in the fall, maybe. But all right. Lastly, in the news, we've got the leaked footage trailer of the canceled multiplayer Spider-Man game from Insomniac.
Right. Yeah. So
the Great Web.
Last time we talked about this, I said how much the hackers had stolen in terms of data, and just over, I think, 1 terabyte, maybe 2. But they were going to be combing through that for
a long
months and months. And so they stumbled upon this, and they're like, here you go. Like, here's the fucking trailer for that pitch for the multiplayer online Spider-Man game. You know, I gotta admit, like, I know we're hot off the Suicide Squad hate train, but like, looking at that, I'm like, that could have been interesting.
I bet you that works. That's the thing. Like, looking at the trailer, I'm like, all of these characters working together works. You know what I mean? Like, it looked
Maybe.
good.
I mean, we would. It's still kind of. You wonder how it would actually work with other players, but yeah, it looks pretty cool. It's a shame, and it makes their tagline make actual sense. Be greater together, as opposed to be greater one at a time. But there's two of you.
Yeah.
So interesting. Yeah, like you said, we're gonna have more leads from this.
You know, like I know Corey, like Spider-Gwen was there, and it's like, damn, like could have had her.
Yeah. Spider-Gwen's a great character.
Even in the game, not to be spoiled, like they kind of like have this weird side mission thing where like, what does this mean? And it just goes nowhere. You're like, okay, then I guess
and
this didn't happen.
Expect like, oh, the last that character at the end, you're like, oh, they're doing someone else.
Yeah,
getting Silk.
Yeah, so it's a shame, but I guess maybe this is one of those canceled multiplayer games that Sony's like, actually, you know what? Maybe we should rethink this whole live service game thing.
Yeah. I know that they're not
too far
game
service. More like a proof of concept kind of thing, rather than like, hey, this is actual footage.
I do wonder if this was part of that 300 million developer cost developing this. If this counts as part of that game.
No.
I mean, I'm like, the thing is, it's a concept thing, so I'm sure at some point somebody's like, hey, build us.
Let me whip this together. But don't spend any more. They would say don't spend any more time on it than this. You know, this is more of a set time thing for it because it's a concept. You just whip it together.
Because they were like using the same engine, same character models. So yeah, I'm sure at some point, you know, Insomniac money obviously went to it, but like, I can't imagine it was a significant over $1 million investment, right? It's more like, hey, you know, just whip together a promotional trailer and we'll pitch it to the executives, and it didn't. You know, because I mean, this happens at every studio. Like there's so many games that get pitched, and you know, we only hear the one success story, right? Just kind of like, right? You know, like Cum Shot. You know, just only one can win, guys. Only one can win.
I don't know if I want to end on that statement now.
All right. Whip thwip.
Thwip. Yep.
Yeah, I got nothing else in news.
The Akuma trailer for Street Fighter 6.
Yes, Akuma.
That's true.
He looks badass.
He does.
Oh, you know, yeah, it was really funny you mentioned that actually. So what's his name? Not Daigo. The other guy from Moment 37 from Evo. You know, the Chun-Li Ken.
John something? No.
It's Daigo and what was his name? The other guy that got parried, right? He went to an anime convention recently, and he did this, like, I don't know, like, short or YouTube thing where he was interviewing random people and cosplayers at the anime convention about, like, if they're dressed as like a fighting game character, like, hey, do you want to take a little quiz for us and see if you can identify the fighting game character and stuff like that? It was just so funny seeing the responses, because some people are like, oh, like, they showed Akuma, and they're like, oh, that's Ryu. And he's like, Ryu? Like, they're like, Dark Ryu? And he's like, I mean, like, in play style, I guess, yeah, but, like, this is Akuma, man, and stuff like that. And he, like, the funniest was they showed Mai Shiranui from King of Fighters, and the guy's like, oh, that's Chun-Li. And he's like, no, like, that's it's the equivalent, right? But then he shows him a picture of Chun-Li, and he's like, oh, I don't know. And it's just like, you just...
Is it alternate, like, outfits or something?
No, it's just, like, character art.
Wow.
Like
oh, man.
But it was pretty funny, I thought.
Interesting. All right.
So yeah,
That's
we
gonna
can
be...
on that note.
Yeah, we can end on that one. That's going to wrap up the Gamecast, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, we're live Twitch Tuesday nights. Please join us for these broadcasts. We can talk to you guys on air. YouTube, all contents are on that side. So, you know, if you missed an episode, watch it over there on YouTube. Subscribe. That way you get notified when we post. And give us a like and a comment over there. And we appreciate it, guys. We'll see you guys next week. We are out.